All right, let's get this started. I want to jump in for an hour or two tonight and see what I can get done. Sort of next steps on my JavaScript rules engine, the Maxim-Engine, the GitHub. Whoops. Yeah, let's not use Chrome. I'm going to use Edge. I have too many Chrome browsers open. It's a disease. Don't want to close them either. That's okay. So, I think I'm in the middle of one to do, creating the recursive read-write proxy handler. And that's been interesting. I think I've got a fair bit of it here. The one thing that made me feel a little bit funny was some of this duplication that I have. So, for example, I'm calling it the write through proxy builder. I'm sort of at odds with some of the conventions I'm using it. I have a feeling tonight's mostly going to be a refactoring run through. And the duplication that I'm seeing right now is I'm building my proxy handlers for the reflect traps. And, sometimes, like for the write through, I want to recognize when I use a property when I write to it. And on the read-only proxy builder, I only want to register a property when I read from the property. So a couple of things I'm noticing right now is I can make these calls a little bit more symmetrical in that they do the property thing that I want, and then they can register the property usage and then return their value. So if I make them all kind of perform in that series of operations, I'm not registering anything here, but for these ones, my property registration is happening right before the return statements here. So I think I'm good. I'm not sure if I like the method name build, because really what it's doing is it's wrapping an object in the handlers. And so maybe this is actually just called wrap. Maybe I'll make that change here. Let me just pull up my test suite. Make sure that it's still executing. Looks good. All right. Oh, puppy's outside. So wrap seems like a nicer method name. Building the proxy handlers. This looks pretty similar. I mean, I started to see if I could use polymorphism here to reduce the amount of code in each of these proxy builders, which I suppose are proxy wrappers. Well, they do build a proxy object, which wraps the object. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna. I can stress on language forever. Okay, so let's see if we have more opportunity here. I think in this case, See, I have to execute this. No, I don't have to do anything. Well, I have to execute this assignment within the context of having this parent path, because I'm capturing that enclosure in this lambda. So I kind of need that here. Hello. I don't know if I can really improve this. Let me try. I'm gonna try a little experiment here and make sure I'm fully committed. Yeah, I gotta commit that refactor. And what am I missing here? Yeah, still wrapping things. All right. And might as well push this up to my read spike branch. Oh. Let's see, just because I don't want to, I may push a little too hard on this. Just really quickly, I'm just going to create a new branch off of read spike. Oh boy. I call this a refactor spike. If I keep it, I'll fold it into the read spike. But let's see what I got here. I can I wonder. So for example, this, if I initialized something like this, I called this property builder. Yeah, probably intended to call this proxy builder. So let me fix that too. This is proxy builder, and yeah, that's importing it as property builder. Although, wait a minute. Yeah, I want to rename the file here. Then I'm going to rename that. All right, I feel better. My OCD has been... Okay, so now I've got this baseline property, get proxy handler with path, and it's been initialized to this lambda that's doing some stuff. Now, maybe I don't want to set the property use analyzer thing there. And so what if I did this? What if I said that, what was I calling it? Get proxy handler with path. I don't know. took a lambda that was target prop, parent path, and it would have called this that. Do that work for me, and then I lost my thing. It looked very much like that, though. Use the property use analyzer. This property path, which I don't have. I didn't calculate. I was calculating it up here. I suppose I could calculate it here, then return the result. And then I suppose I could do this. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this right now. It is broken anyways. Property path is not defined. Oh yeah, I need that to do the wrapper as well. Oh boy, I don't want to calculate it twice. I suppose I could have a quick helper function that did all that logic-y stuff. Calculate new parent path. Takes a property and parent path and basically does this. I should have just done extract method. No. How do I do extract method here? Come on, folks. Oh, keystrokes are failing me. Control-Alt-M. Should have been Control-Alt-M. I'm going to extract it out to this class. I'm going to call it create path. Actually, let's switch the signature of that. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Parent path to the property. That's going to create the property path. And honestly, I can just inline that here. Now create path being a method on the superclass. This makes it a lot easier to say this. Oops, didn't mean to do that. did need to do that. Oh, it's got to be this. Yeah, it's going to fail everywhere. Well, let's fix all those. Oh, no, I didn't make that mistake over there. Okay, good, good. And so let's see how this looks. Still passing. I still feel a little funny about pieces of it, but it has, so this is delegating to the baseline get property or get proxy handler with path, then adding my registration of the property to the property use analyzer and returning this result. Yeah, feels funny, but perhaps not terrible. I suppose the next question is, if I roll all of these into it, now that get proxy handler with path, this function now looks identical to this function. So I don't need this here anymore. And I can simply use the one that's underneath. So this works. Yeah. Now, these three, set, define, and delete, I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense. This is like a one-liner. I mean, it's pretty much the same as like this one-liner. So I'm inclined to simply leave it. So the baseline will wrap the get. And I'm going to make this a little bit more. Just to differentiate the names a little more. I don't know, longer names. I hate naming things. Listener, you know, I'm not sure this is really a listener. It's really a property use analyzer, isn't it? Okay, how do I feel this now? I had a great path. I don't know, it feels like this wrap method is kind of redundant across all the base classes. I can probably pull you up. Actually, you could probably use a refactoring to do that. Just want to build a pro wrap up. Yeah, that is just fine. Or is it? I don't know what, call the method in the subclass? Yes, it will. It's funny how the IDE doesn't realize that it will. still happy. Maybe I'm good here. You know what? This is just fine. I'm gonna just switch back to my read spike, and just gonna commit all this change right out of the read spike. So and I'm just gonna delete this other one that I didn't really do anything with. All right. Well, we have a thing. We have a thing. So I'm going to say that this is kind of done. I'm good with those. Now, I guess the next thing is to do something with all of these property registrations. I'm capturing the properties referenced on all of these operations so that I know what they are. So I suppose recognizing when one has been accessed and triggering the rerunning of the rules. This, if I do the naive thing here, it's going to be really not helpful. But I wonder if I should start with the naive thing and then build out some edge cases. Because it's the edge cases that are going to hurt. It's the ones where, you end up in a loop with a rule modifying a thing that re-triggers another rule to modify it back to something else, and you just bounce between the two rules and you never exit. That's, I think, the most critical thing that I need to sense. All right, let's do the naive thing. See how that works out for us. So I don't think it's harmful. Well, no, I'm going to stay on the read spike here. I'm just thinking of, this is kind of a new block of work. I have, excuse me. I have the property use analyzers in play, but not used. So it's kind of dead work. All right, I'm going to stay on the spike. Let's see how bad it is to stay on the spike. It's not going to be bad. Okay. What? I want to be more specific. I wrote this to do back when this was just sort of a thought in the future, and well, now it's the future. So I'm gonna kind of rewrite this and break it down a little bit more because I know more about what I'm doing now. I find it funny when folks try to predict the future and try to stress out on creating all their to-dos up front. I think that's a little silly. But we can certainly elaborate this really rough one, break it down in more detail now. So what if we had, let's see, rerun rules with conditions dependent upon changes in working memory. I think that's a really nice first step. I could probably document a second step here to say recognize loops in circular reference situations. I don't know. It makes sense to me, so I'm going to call it that. Certainly I'm going to do use second, and I'm just going to get rid of you for now. Don't need you. All right, so oops, recognize, nope. Rerun rules with conditions dependent upon changes in working memory. So now I'm going to have the opportunity to evaluate what's up. So these property use analyzers, they're about to start earning their keep. They are registered in the proxy builders, and the I suppose I ought to plug this into the rule. I need to write through proxy builder. I need to register you. Let me jump into the engine spec. I don't think the write through is visible yet, so I think I'm gonna just add a new, oops. Oh, let me explore these. I'm gonna pull these out. Honestly, my tests should be spying on these. Oh, what am I thinking? Let me fill this out. I feel like I need to fill this out because I'm dependent on these things getting all these events, and I don't know, I'm only trusting that they're getting the events right now. I'm turning this whole thing into an integration test because I'm using these real objects underneath it. And so I'm creating too much complexity in that situation. I really want to simplify these tests out. So let's do this. First thing I'm going to need is a SPI framework. So let's, did I put one in the system already? I did not. So I'm going to install Synon. And I'm going to pull that in. Now, this, these three things, so this I'm going to extract first. That's read listener, or read analyzer, and this is a read-only proxy builder. We need a write analyzer. And just double check on this. Oops, already did that. Let's run our tests. Write through proxy builder is not find. Oh, of course it's not. Let's require it, shall we? There we are. Now, how does on work again? I think I just call Sinon spy. Yeah. Not really. That's interesting. That's kind of new. Let's just manually build a spy structure. See what that looks like. Property use analyzer has register property. And that's the thing I really want to watch. So let's pretend I have an object that's at a register property method. And I'll stick a spy on it. And I'll do the same thing here. I don't think that should fail. Yeah, it's pretty happy with it. I'm not asserting on any of the things there yet, but now I can. So let's see. Should pass working memory unchanged with no rules. Should process a simple rule. Should not be able to mutate working memory in a condition. Which should recognize when, or should register properties referenced in a condition. Let's make sure it does that. So let's register something simple. And let's see. Do nothing with the consequence. And let's expect that. Ooh, that's not what we want. Let's make that a condition, shall we? Let's expect that. Ooh, how do we run our expectations on the spy? With, yeah. So I would expect. Oh, hang on. I have to ask the engine to execute. I may as well put a message in working memory. Give it something to act on. And I would expect that our need these objects to be available. Read analyzer. Make that accessible. Read analyzer's register property method is called with this would be an array of hello. I think that ought to be what I'm looking for. Yeah. So that verifies that the property is getting registered upon read. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, the write, I should be able to figure that out too. Let's get it set up. And let's set up a rule that mutates working memory. So I'm going to register that same rule. Feels like I'm duplicating a lot here. Let's see. Let's verify property registration. That's really what these tests are doing. I'm going to wrap those. And now I can say, this is the rule I'm going to use. And let's pop that up in scope. And I'm going to register the sample rule. Execute on a sample data set. And assume that our spy was called. So here, same thing. I'm going to register that sample rule. And invest in execute on this hello message. So it basically just says, when the message is hello, I'm going to say Let's mutate it to goodbye. Is my other test still passing? Yeah. And so now I should be able to expect that the right analyzer register property is called with, ooh, that's wrong. Should be called with message. Wow, how, what kind of a weird false positive test I got going on here? Oh. Is it to be true? How does chai work? Yeah, to be true. That should have failed. I should have 2 failures now. Indeed I do. But now why do I have this failure? Register properties referenced in consequence. Actually, not just referenced, but mutated. And I expected to be true, and it got false. Oh, yeah, because I'm not actually using it. So when we run the rule consequence, we actually want to access it through the right through property proxy builder. Thumbs up. actually... I mean, I don't actually want that in those functions anyways. But I don't understand why it's... not here. Line number references are particularly not helpful. Right through proxy builder is not a function. Oh, you know what? That's kind of true. It's not. It's an object that has a wrap method. Look at that. Back to my original problem. Okay, so in this case, I still expect false to be true in the registering related to a mutation. And I'm passing it through the right through proxy builder. Should be working. And this is... This is where... So the run consequence is the lambda, or is the function that we're running throughout the reduce. The seed value is the wrapped working memory. which gets copied every single time. Well then, that's not where I want to do this then, is it? Let's just hand in regular working memory. And when we make the copy, let's build that here. Proxy builder of undefined. It's in the reduce function. This is interesting. Not sure where my logic problem is here. All right, let me talk it through. Again. So I'm using right through proxy builder, which I'm pretty sure I'm setting. Referencing it here. I'm just assigning it to myself. That's all nicely matched up. When I execute my rule set, I'm looking only for rules that match the conditions. Once I have them, I'm going to reduce all of their work. So I'm going to run all of their consequences. And the seed for the reduce function is the starting working memory. Now, within figuring out the consequences, we take in the working memory as it is. We also have incoming rule. Make a copy of it. Run the consequence. Yeah, you know what? I don't know, I feel like I just want to spread this out a little. That's the wrapped working memory that's got all the listeners on it. It should be referenced there. And it should not be null. Why is it undefined? So this is only failing when I have rules that have consequences that do something. When I don't have consequences that do something, I get test failures. Is it? No, I still get these unreadable thingies. So it doesn't seem to have much of a bearing. I am setting up a read and write analyzers. Building the proxy builders with each analyzer. Creating the Maxim-Engine with those property builders. Or proxy builders. Yeah, no good reason why not. No good reason why not at all. Code doesn't work, don't know why. Property builder of undefined. It's almost like this is undefined. And perhaps it is. What if I did this? Although now it's not strictly references are static. That's going to be interesting. Don't actually want to do that, but all right, what if I do this? Reduce takes the accumulator and the working memory, or actually, let's call it the working memory and the rule. And I expressly run this run consequence with the working memory and the rule. Does that fix my this reference? It's different. Proxy builder is not a function now. Oh, of course. Because I gotta wrap it like I discovered earlier. Okay, so this all came down to this behavior because I was using this as a lambda, so that's definitely not going to be happy. I'm fine with this though. It's a little more explicit anyways. And my test suite fully passes. So let's continue my path here. What I was doing is reducing these to spies. Now, if I turn this into a spy, how does Maxim use these? Oops. It calls wrap on them. And we'll always call wrap on them. Maybe I leave my tests right now on the Maxim-Engine as more integration style tests. getting a phone call. Really loud. I'll be right back. Noisy phone fixed. So I'm going to leave this as an integration test at this level for now between the Maxim-Engine and the property, like the proxy builders. Let's see how the rest of this stuff plays out. I feel like if I put spy in play for the proxy builders, I'm going to lose too much of the behavior. I suppose I am testing it in other places. Maybe I ought to just trust it, but I won't actually be able to check that it runs any rules. Maybe I'll split this spec at some point in the future. I'll split this spec so that I've got some integration scenarios and then some just really tight tests around what this class is doing. But for now, I'm going to leave them conflated a little bit. Okay, so where am I right now? Let's see what I've got. I did some refactoring here. I added the spies, extra little test group. So I know that it's registering properties correctly, and that's all good. Added Sonata as a framework, so let's say using spies for property registration. The engine spec. Let's push these guys up. Alright, now where was I? I was gonna rerun the rules when conditions dependent upon changes in working memory. So, wow, I want a thing that can tell me the intersection. Now, I need to have a rule affiliation. Isn't that interesting? I need to have a rule affiliation. I need to know more about that a property was referenced. I need to say this rule referenced these properties. I can do that. So what do we call this thing? And where do we do this? I think I have to do it here. I think I have to run the consequence, for example, and then evaluate it. I probably also have to wrap it around the evaluating the conditions. All right, let's capture the affiliation on run consequence, Now, how am I going to reference the rules? This is the interesting thing. Rules, well, maps in JavaScript are just, can only have string keys. Isn't that interesting? Maybe I need some more things around a rule. I suppose I could store the rules as just tuples. You know, if I had a store that was the rule itself followed by its references, then I would be able to keep that pretty straight. That doesn't seem like too bad a structure. So let's call this, what do we call this thing? It's a rule. A rule. Let's call it a thing. Where to put the thing? Rule references. Rule consequence references. Just hold it here like this for now. How do we want to use it? I don't know yet. Because after I run the consequence, I want to say, let's push the rule and the I need access to the listener's references. So I wonder if I ask the proxy builder to give me and we can delegate to the listener. But that's going to give me everything, not just the ones for this rule. I need to reset this list each time. Each time I run a consequence, each time I run a condition. I almost want a new listener each time I do it, don't I? The listener, or the analyzer, uses a set, and it's persistent through the life of the analyzer. This is getting tricky. I could look at the difference in the set between the two things, but honestly, I don't think I want that level of persistence. I don't want to know when all the properties are dealt with. I only want to see so say this was a reset method. So the property use analyzer knows how to reset itself, register properties, and then pull the reference properties out. Then maybe the builders, I don't know if I like this, but it's what I got right now. Maybe the builders know how to delegate reset. And they know how to delegate get. No. Get reference to properties. Okay, so the proxy builders now know how to retrieve the properties and reset themselves. And so now I'm getting lots of text because it's snowing at home. I wish I were home. Apparently we have a few inches of snow up there. Okay. So after we run the consequence, I want to get the reference properties. And before we run the consequence, I want to say reset the reference to properties. So I'm going to reset, run the consequence, grab the updated properties, stash that into my rule consequence references. That doesn't seem too terrible. I'm going to need to wrap this call. Check condition on with a working memory and a rule that's basically going to ask the read-only proxy builder to reset. Run the condition. On the wrapped working memory. basically this. And then rule condition references. I'm going to push the rule followed by the properties, reference properties. Return the result. So this is definitely going to be used in the filter. So in the filter, I'm going to get a rule, and I'm going to ask the thing Maxim to check the condition on the working memory. Against the rule. I'm going to do the work in there. Oh boy, did I break anything? Sure did. Property analyzer, property use analyzer reset. No. Reset sure is a function. Read-only proxy builder reset. Proxy builder. Oh boy. Oh, I'm in proxy builder. You know what? I am... Oh, I had a question. So the three lines that look like this. So I'm using a font. So that's fire code. the big fan of it. I don't know, for me, not everybody likes it. But Firecode is basically a developer font. It uses ligatures to build fun-looking symbols. I use it a lot. I really like arrow functions, for example, to look like an arrow. It's kind of fun. And unfortunately, it confuses people sometimes. Oh, that was a fun diversion. Still stuck. Property use analyze a reset is not a function. Trying to register properties referenced in a condition. And it's trying to execute reset here. The read-only proxy builder extends proxy builder. Proxy builder has a reset. Typical developer, right? Look at it, it should work. I'm missing something obvious. Well, perhaps not obvious. I'm certainly missing something. I'll run the tests again. They'll magically work now, right? Maybe it's getting late. Maybe I've been coding too long today. Changing the name to something else. That's an interesting thought. I mean, I'm looking for the mismatch. Let's find out where it's specifically making the mismatch. So check condition. Does seem to be there. Yep. Thanks for that. So it is on this one that it is failing. Just tracing through all the variables. That's definitely the thing. And yet it's not triggering on get referenced properties. Although maybe it's just not getting that far. Just wasn't getting that far. So when is a read-only proxy builder not a read-only proxy builder? That's interesting. didn't expect that error message. Property use analyzer reset is not a function. That is pushing through to this. Will it reset? Most of the time, yes. Before each hook should register a single row. Making sure the reference pass is not undefined. Yeah. These guys. I want to do that. Check that out. Any happy? They ought to be fine. I'm going to keep copying these over, but clearly my other tests would be failing horribly if it was so egregiously broken. I wonder, because I'm using a SPI here. Referenced I forget the method. Reference properties. Let's put some spies in there. Maybe that is going to mess me up. Yeah, I was missing spies. All right. Well, given that I was missing spies, I don't know that I'm ready to start testing around these yet. I mean, I suppose I could count out how many times that it should be referenced. We could say we'd expect the read analyzers reset method to be, or how many, oh boy, how do you do that and sit on called X number of times? No. My goodness. I suppose I could just check called once. Well, let's just check that it was called at all. Reality check here. Okay, that works. So reset was called, and how many times does it get called? I suppose just once. Ooh. Wonder how many times that was. I expect this thing, I don't like asserting on the Boolean here because it's I don't know how many times it was called. All I know is false is not true. It's called 2 times. I suppose I could reason through why it's called 2 times. It matches. Don't yet understand why it's being called twice. I feel like maybe I have something laying around accidentally. I expect that. I expect that. Don't expect that. Good. I found it. Little ghosts. Called once. There we are. So I expect the read analyzer to be called once, and when I'm writing, I would expect the write analyzer reset called once. That ought to be true as well. Good. All right, check along the spies. That's good. I should also verify that get referenced properties on each of those was called once. All right. Okay. Where was I at? I was capturing the rule to referenced properties affiliations, gathering them together in the rule engine, and now upon execution, I expect I'm going to want to continue to run this. Isn't that interesting? So while now I'm catching into the logic. To satisfy my simple story, I just want to rerun when I see a change to a dependent property that's been referenced. And my brain just wants to write this in a loop, because this guy, I mean, it feels silly to do this, but maybe I should do the silly thing to start with. I'm going to let the first working memory, or the first generation, let's call it that, excuse me, to be the result of that run. That shouldn't have broken anything. And if I want to get a set of rules that are referenced in the consequence references. No. Set of rules that are referenced in the condition references of each consequence. And if I did this as a loop, if I base it on the consequences, I suppose what if I could go in either direction? For each of these, I don't know if I really want to for each on this, but heck, why not? I'm going to get a tuple, and that tuple is going to consist of the rule first and the referenced property second. So for each of the consequence references, what if I looped through condition references? just going to be naive about this. Oh, can't call them both tuple. Let's call this the C tuple and the, oh, they're both C tuples. Cond tuple and the const tuple. Do I need to really loop through all of these? I bet I can optimize this. Naive implementation. Naive implementation. Okay. So if the tuple second parameter, so the path, it's the same as the condition tuple path, then, oh, and the cons tuple rule, oh no, I don't care which rule it is. When they match, don't want to call that first generation, but it's got a front consequence, first generation, and the, we're going to rerun the condition. This is terrible code. But it might run the rule set a second time. I don't know. Let's comment that out. Let's write a test. Let's build up a simple rule chain. So I'm going to have sample rule 1 and sample rule 2. And it's going to be really simple. This condition is going to be when the message hello set it to goodbye. And when it's goodbye, let's set it to au revoir. All right. Now, it should re-evaluate the rule set with a simple change. Let's say once matches my story. Let's register set rule 1. Actually, we can register both rules at the same time. I built that capability. And execute it. Initialize it with hello. And then we will expect that our working memory contains a message that is au revoir. Okay, that's going to fail. Can't mutate the working memory in a condition. What? Oh, yeah, well. Let's build this properly, shall we? Okay. So now, if I uncomment that horribleness, does it pass? No. I was afeared that my algorithm would be weird. Coming up on the 2-hour mark. I wonder if I'm going to make this. I want to inspect this. Now, let's say log the tuples. Now, how do I end up in this situation with undefined? That doesn't seem right. wouldn't expect these to be nulls or undefined. So it can match all the equals on undefined, but it's not going to make any sense here. Well, let's pull this out. Undefined, undefined, undefined. Property use analyzer. Get reference to properties. Has them here. Oh. My spy isn't returning anything. My spy isn't returning anything at all. So that makes perfect sense why these tests are failing, because this won't actually contain anything helpful to us. If I switch my Maxim test back to be a full-on integration test, where I actually use the real property analyzer, then I'm going to get better results here. Alternatively, so I can't expect this at all because, well, it's not going to execute that way. Maybe this is... Maybe I want to... allow it to... I suppose I could set up a bunch of call throughs and all that, or I could just go back and build this as an integration test. It's going to fail on the spies because the spies won't exist. So I feel like that is going to get moved to the non-integration test. So now let's get rid of some of this logging. Oops. And let's look at what Maxim is doing. It is being asked to rerun it. And it's not. Because of that. Those are arrays of arrays. Oops. For value equality. Two values. No, that's not really what I'm hoping for. I mean, I really want value equality here. underscore and low dash have is equal. Hate to pull in low dash, but or underscore, I suppose, these days. Not really using much out of it, but what is the Stack Overflow community like? Low dash. I suppose it's gonna feel weird. Maybe I'll rip it out afterwards, but let's put this in. And these two objects. Oops. Not what I wanted to do. I want to run tests. Alright, so it was very specifically the object equality check that was messing me up here. Alright. But I have a thing that does the naive thing. I got a test around it, and I can sure refactor that through. I'm going to leave the in progress task in play while I think about the refactor. And I may just pop on tomorrow to do some more of this. I'd like to try and get this out of the way before I go home. I'm going to be home for a couple weeks. So I don't want to go 2 weeks without streaming, but maybe I will. It may or may not be a thing that I do. We're going to see. Let's commit this. I can really optimize that loop. Push that up. I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks for folks that, oh, Mr. Bankster, yo. I am just about to sign off, though. Thanks for stopping in. Oops. I suppose I actually ought to push this. So we have a very simple Very simple naive implementation. I'm going to come back tomorrow and refactor this because it's going to be fun. And on that note, I will see folks tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by. I had engagement today. Thanks, folks, for doing that. Sometimes I do this stream and I'm just starting out, so I don't have. I have a lot of emergency vehicles passing by the apartment. I don't have a lot of engagement, so I don't have a lot of folks asking questions, offering input, and stuff like that. It was really nice today. So, thank you, and see you next time.